and welcome to another episode of Off the Record, brought to you by ETX Capital. I'm Andrew Sachs and joined in the studio in London here today by Simona Stankovska. Hello, Simona.
Hi, Andrew.
Nice to see you.
Lovely to see you too. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here. Now, Simona, you are the global head of PR at fintech company Exante.
Indeed.
So we've spoken before a few times about the journey that Exante's taken, very innovative path. And I'd like to have a look into that and what's happening in terms of the changes in the way things are done these days. Are you seeing a lot of influencer-orientated things, and how is the technology market finding itself interacting with the trading side of the retail trading business?
Of course, for Exante, technology is incredibly important. Exante is actually founded by technology experts as opposed to traders. They found that they wanted to trade and they wanted something that was intuitive and I guess met their needs. So they built a trading platform, and actually Exante is 10 years old this year. So we're celebrating Exam 10, which is really exciting. And what we're trying to do is we're increasingly trying to show that technology is very important when it comes to the financial markets.
I think it absolutely is. We really, if you think about it, are the leading edge of the financial markets. And you've seen how all these memes and these social media orientated Reddit platforms and groups that have influenced all kinds of things. That in itself is a real indicator of how technology needs to keep up with all of the internet-based nature of the financial services industry in the future.
Indeed, and that's what we're trying to show people. We feel that technology is actually lagging when it comes to finance. And so we're trying to, our platform is constantly evolving. We're also looking at privacy. Privacy protection is very important to us because we're finding that more and more people care about their data.
They do.
Especially when it comes to trading. You don't want to be trading something and then have your competitors know exactly what's going on and what you're trading, and you want to be ahead of the curve.
That's for sure. Actually, recently in the UK, there was a survey taken by one of the government offices, and it looked at how much people care about their data. Very interesting result, actually. People over the age of 60, they don't care. They say, well, I've got nothing to hide, and whatever I've done, everyone knows about anyway, and there's no problem with it whatsoever. Anyone under the age of 30 is very concerned about where their data goes. That could be because the younger generation are very dependent on things like WhatsApp and Instagram, and they are concerned about where their footprint has been used for marketing purposes or collection of what they've been doing. And there's a lot of people who really know how systems work and how data is captured, so they're worried about that being sold to other companies and then used as a marketing target or something.
Well, who likes being spammed or having their account hacked? And I think it's important as well when it comes to careers. These days, young people, your footprint is everywhere online, and when you're applying for a job, that prospective employer can find you anywhere. So actually it's very important to make sure that what you're showing online is professional.
Yes, it is. Some of the large management consultancies and banks, investment banks, who are tier 1 trading institutions, they have departments which actually trawl their employees' footprints on various platforms on an ongoing basis to make sure they don't put the company in bad light, so to speak. And that could be anything. It could be even as much as going to a sports game or a music concert or something that has activists or something that they don't want their image associated with, and then the next morning that particular employee is in their hot water because of it.
Exactly. Well, I think you have to be extremely careful. You can have a personal view. Obviously, we allow all of our employees to do that. But when it comes to LinkedIn, to social media, we're very careful, and obviously all of our employees, follow guidelines.
Yeah, I think everyone is definitely looking at that more now, especially after these very influencer-driven market movements that we've seen recently.
Crazy. I mean, look at Bitcoin. I mean, how someone like Elon Musk, how I guess people are trusting a celebrity as opposed to governments and financial institutions.
Yes, they are, and they're trusting him to the point where he moved them. He's a market maker.
Yes,
he moved an unofficial market maker. He moved the market by more than some countries' GDP, right? More than many countries' GDP,
Indeed.
and no one said a word. Everyone's okay. that happened, I'm going to join it now. In fact, they started thinking about joining it, and then he moved it back up again. That's bizarre. If that was an institutional environment, and it was even half of that, even a tenth of that, everyone, including regulators and governments, would be going absolutely crazy about it. So I think we in the fintech business have to kind of keep up with these trends a little bit.
Of course, I mean, look at JP Morgan. They were completely against Bitcoin a few years ago, and now
they jumped on the bandwagon.
Now they're on the bandwagon. They're saying that Bitcoin's going to hit over 300,000 in a few years' time.
Yes. You even have them influeing traditional stocks. It was Goldman Sachs that said a few weeks ago, oil will get to $80 a barrel, and they were doing that on social platforms. And everyone is thinking, no, what are you talking? That's a wild prediction. Here we are, $77 a barrel.
Exactly.
And the Russian government officials, Novak, Alexander Novak, the deputy prime minister, he's saying, oh, well, we might see 200 a barrel now. He's got no interest in being an influencer because Russia's core activity and core source of revenue is the oil industry.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, exactly. Commodity prices have hit new highs again, and actually, whilst due to inflation, equities are suffering, you've got oil and commodities rising again.
Yes, so it's completely something that we have to keep up with. ETX Capital is a long-standing company, been around a long time, but we are going towards further electronic financial services because you have to nowadays. I think anyone who stays in the traditional method of being a CFD product provider only, or a traditional bank, or something that doesn't move with the young audience is not really capturing what we're doing these days in terms of what the users are doing, what financial services is about.
Of course. At Exante, we're exactly the same. We listen exactly to what our clients are asking for. For example, we met a few of our clients at London Concourse a couple of weeks ago.
You did? I saw that. What was that like?
It was brilliant. It was fantastic. Really good coverage.
I saw you in a 1960s 356.
I had to test out the cars. Yeah. I mean, I know financial events. I have to say that was quite a fun event because as you know, some of them can be quite boring. But no, that one was really fun, and we met a lot of our clients, and interestingly enough, our clients are getting younger and younger because, as you said, the younger generation are looking to explore new markets. We're constantly, we've got over 300,000 instruments on our platform, and we're constantly adding new markets, new instruments.
Multi-asset.
Exactly, because that's what people want.
It is. And, it is.
And we also do a student trading competition with Warwick University called the Exante Investor League. So we're also teaching the younger generation how to trade.
Very good idea.
Because they are the traders of the future.
They are, and they will do it a lot more than people have done in the past.
I think so. I think it's definitely becoming a lot more commonplace.
It certainly is.
Whereas before, it was kind of traditional investments, long-term, saving for your pension. Now everyone is, taking a lot more risk.
They are. Those days are gone. If you look at some of the post-millennial, the Generation Z, the next one down from millennial, they are not interested in pensions or mortgages. They don't think that's obsolete because it's a long-term struggle.
It is,
Whereas, and you do it for a very minimal reward at the end.
Completely.
So
because what's the point of owning your house now these days when you can pay rent, you can rent anywhere, you can move whenever you want?
Well, you're going to be able to subscribe to houses very soon.
Exactly, you can do it with cars.
You can.
Houses next.
You can do it with anything. That's the thing.
Exactly.
Subscription model is here.
It's
coming and it's here. So this long struggle of pensions and things like mortgages is hard work for a little gain. So what they're likely to do is subscribe to everything and then trade the markets via electronic platforms. And what markets they might be trading could be all kinds of things, virtual products.
It is, but also trading via a platform kind of gives you direct market access from, like you said, from anywhere. We've got clients joining from India, countries where they can't trade outside of their own country unless they trade via a platform.
El Salvador, where they just made Bitcoin the official currency.
Indeed, that was really interesting, but it's still asset backed, isn't it?
It is. But it's empowered 70% of a previously unbanked population. So this is where the new wealth, the nouveau riche in the future, will be those kinds of people. I think so.
I know that because on our channel we discussed last year about Bitcoin. I think it was Barcelona Football Club has actually created its own kind of digital currency.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so their members can actually own a piece of Barcelona. So it's a good way for them to kind of fund their club and for their members to feel a part of the club.
Yes, and that's very interesting. If you start offering products where the the actual investor or the trader owns part of the stock or goes to the AGMs, then you've got them interested in, they have a vested interest in it. So they do own something that is potentially more volatile than a very ordinary pension that you're not going to get for 50 years. And when you do it, if you compare how much you pay into it compared to what you get out, it's a long slog.
Yeah. But volatility is where you make your money these
Certainly
days.
is.
And if you look
and it's
at
coming back.
Exactly. I mean, we had the 2008, 2007, 2008 crash. We've had obviously COVID. There are so many unpredictable events these days. You know, the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Yeah. So I think as an investor, you've just got to be prepared.
You have. And aside from all of those geopolitical things, you or I could just go and do it ourselves. You can get onto Twitter and you can get onto YouTube if you've got enough followers and you can say something, and now it's an open forum these days.
It is,
completely open forum. So
I think
yes, you can become an influencer. So all of these things are now relevant, as are things which are not necessarily directly to do with our core business. For example, benevolent charities and things like that, which you are certainly someone who's an expert in.
Oh, thank you. I've got my own charity. I founded my own charity a couple of years ago, and I have to say it's been a whirlwind. I never.
Sure.
I mean, once you get into the charity world, you realise how much regulation. And
it's not easy to raise capital either.
It's complete. Oh no, it's been really difficult. However, what I found is that. Because I've got a vested interest, I've got a personal interest. I suffered, so I run a charity called the Cavernoma Society. It supports people with a rare brain and spine condition called a cavernoma, which is an abnormal kind of cluster of blood vessels that can bleed, causing strokes and seizures. I myself had a stroke at the age of 27, so it kind of turned my life upside down overnight. And so what I found was that there was a lack of support because it is a rare condition. 1 in 600 people have it,
right.
But only 1 in 400,000 will suffer with symptoms such as a stroke or a seizure. And I had both. I ended up having epileptic seizures too. And I founded the charity to help and support people to kind of go through their journey in a smoother way than I did, because I had my family around me, but there was a lack of information, and it was very frightening. I went through 8 hours of brain surgery. I had a craniotomy 5 years ago, and for me, it felt like I never thought I would work again. So to be here today, I always count it as such a blessing, and I say to people, I really count my blessings, because I couldn't speak after surgery. I spoke backwards, and so to work in communications, it was, I thought, well, how am I going to be able to do my job? I could write, but I couldn't speak.
Right, yes. So,
but yeah, the charity's got over 1,000 members now, and actually, considering we're coming up to our second birthday on the 15th of July, our annual turnover is about 50,000, which during a period of COVID, it's actually not too bad. You know, we've had support from the Postcode Community Trust, funding yoga and meditation retreats, which have been really beneficial to our members. We've also had support from the Foyle Foundation, from lots of kind of different trusts that believe in what we're doing, which is great. At the moment, we're looking for funding to build an app. Again, technology.
There you go, yeah.
We're looking to build an app to try and support our members, to give them a community, an online community where they can connect, where they can share their experiences. Because we find that's what helps. Similar to the financial world, if someone shares their story or shares their experience, it suddenly you kind of almost become an influencer in that space.
You do, and I think that there's more if you look again, the younger people. If you go and ask, I'm sure you know this better than me because you are the director of one of these charities. If you go and ask for sponsorship, if you go to an older generation, you'll either get nothing, or you'll have a very difficult time, or you'll get a corporate sponsorship where you put the name on, which is the easiest route to take.
Yeah.
You can take small amounts from lots of people, or 100,000 from one corporate sponsor, and you can call it the Chaim Goldberg Foundation or something on the building.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But if you go to the younger generation, they will do much more crowd sharing, sponsorship, and they're very benevolent in that respect.
Completely.
So it has to be a case of the fintech companies with these. You're developing an app for the charity. This is the way forward for these things. Fintechs should be now are starting to do, and should certainly go down the route of benevolent investing, where you have funds that are charity oriented funds. These ESG things, a lot of that is focused on greenwash, but there should be also things like cancer research and whatever, and you can trade you can trade trends in research or something like that. That's what's coming.
Indeed, and at Exante, that's exactly. We're very socially responsible. We, we're quite lucky with our corporate sponsorship. We do give a lot to charity. Last year during COVID, we were actually allowed to volunteer up to 2 days a week for a charity that was supporting people affected by COVID. So, however, whichever way, it was a COVID-related charity. But we got paid to do that. So
yeah.
I took 1 day off a week because my schedule only allowed that. But I volunteered for Age Concern and helped them with their social media, with their marketing, with their PR strategy. So we're very lucky that Exante does, really believe in charitable causes.
I think that's the way it's a community-driven world now, so the investing community will be able to trade these things, which provides more capital for charitable donations, and it gives them an actual profit from it too. So I think the two can be linked.
It looks good on both sides, doesn't
it? Does,
Yeah,
exactly.
It's a win-win, I think.
It is, and I think that's exactly the way forward. Simona Stankovska, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you, Andrew.